Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome back to another Division 2 video. My name is Prime and I got a banger of a build for you. This is a 6-core yellow build with a 4-core red build, or you could even call it a 6-core and a 6-core. You can do so much damage with your skills in combination with doing damage with your weapon, and this build has some survivability. There is a total of 11 cores on this, or 13 cores, it depends on how you look at it. This is such a banger of a build, and I want to give a quick shout out to Palm, my man. He showed me this build, and this build originally comes from Rice. I hope I pronounced it right, so a huge shout out to you, my man. This is a great build and a lot of fun to play with, because I know a lot of y'all like to fire your weapon but still like to do some damage with your skills as well, and this is just the perfect combination. This is a crit skill build that gives you a lot of power through your skills and still giving you a good damage output with your gun as well. So you don't have to sit in the corner to wait until your skills take everybody out. You can shoot as well and take out enemies very quickly. The combination of shooting and using your skills is just godlike, and this build is a definite upgrade from my last crit skill build. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I like to shoot and don't sit in a corner while my skills do the talking, you know? This is a looter shooter, not sit in the corner, blow 'em up 'em. That's my opinion. So I always go for something that I still can shoot with, and this is just the perfect Senergy for the build. But enough intro, let's dive right into the build and show you what we're working with. And this is the build that I just showed you, playing on Lincoln, on Heroic with 2 directive, just shredding through everybody. It is a lot of fun doing damage with your gun, doing damage with your skills. This is the perfect Senergy. Starting with our specialization, we're using the technician specialization, and why? Mainly because we're gaining that extra skill core. Don't forget to add some extra damages to your rifle damage, pistol damage, and AR damage to boost your AR and your rifle up a little bit more. For our first weapon, and almost only weapon that we use, it is the capacitor. This is the best gun to use on a crit skill build, because every single skill core gives you another weapon damage core as well, or at least give you a half of a weapon damage core. That's why I explained you can see it in theory in 6-core reds and 6-core yellows and then 1-core blue. So in theory you can see it as a 13-core crit skill build, and that is why this build is so freaking wild, as every single skill tier gains 7.5% weapon damage. As you count our weapon damage cores, we have 4 weapon damage cores from 3 pieces of our gear, and then of course from our holster, because that is the Picaros, that will give us an extra weapon damage core as well. So we have 4 weapon damage cores, but because we running around with 6-core yellows, we're gaining an extra 3 weapon damage cores, because every single skill tier gives us 7.5% weapon damage. So in theory, we are capped out at the 6-core reds, 6-core yellows. So that's why I explained you could in theory see this as a 13-core crit skill build. Why is the capacitor so freakingly good on a skill build? Because shooting enemy builds up a stack of a cap of 40, and each stack grants 1.5% skill damage, and after 5 seconds stacks decay 1 per second. So when you shoot your weapon, and you want to do that because this is the perfect synergy between shooting your weapon and using your skills, you're gaining an extra 65% skill damage. In combination with our backpack, in combination with our chest piece, we can gain up to that extra 120% skill damage, and that's why our skills can shred through everybody, while we can shred through everybody with our gun as well. Then jumping over to my secondary gun, and that will be the Harmony. I'm not really using the Harmony that much, but if you are in a group or if you're fighting legendaries, then it might be that you run out of AR ammo and you wanna switch over to a gun that doesn't have the same ammo type. That's why we're using the Harmony as a rifle. We have rifle damage, critical hit damage, and then damage your target out of cover on there. And why are we using this? Because we still do a lot of damage while using this gun with our skills and with our weapon. As if we hit people with our gun and with our skills, we are gaining an extra 40% weapon damage and 40% skill damage. Of course, that 65% skill damage from the capacitor is a little bit more, but if you run out, you can definitely use the perfectly in sync. And you could go for the AR as well, but like I explained, you wanna go for a little bit different ammo types. Then going over to my pistol, you can use whatever you want. This skill tier doesn't count towards my skill build, as you need to hold the weapon to count as a skill tier. We're already at the cap of 6 skill tiers, so this weapon doesn't count towards our skill build, but you can use whatever handgun you want. I would go for a handgun that you don't have proficient yet, that will save you some materials and or duplicates to donate. Easy way to get up to proficiency levels. Then let's jump over to the overview of my build, starting with the Empress International. We have 3 pieces, and why? Because this gives us skill health, skill damage, and skill efficiency. And especially the 3rd brand set bonus does a lot for you, as skill efficiency is everything in the skill attribute 3. So we're gaining skill damage, skill health, everything that you can think of that is an attribute within the skill tree will be giving to you with that skill efficiency. And that is why that 3-piece international is almost a must-have on a crit skill build. We went for skill damage and critical hit chance. I found it with skill damage and critical hit chance on here, so I could roll that skill core away for a weapon damage core, because we were already at the cap. The more weapon damage you gain, the harder your weapon hits, of course. Same I did for my gloves, skill damage, critical hit chance, and I left this with a skill tier. Then jumping over to my chest piece, and that is the last piece of the Empress, and that will activate that skill efficiency. Again, skill damage, critical hit chance. We went for a critical hit chance mod on there, and then we went for kinetic momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1% and the total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill lost when on cooldown. So this gives you 15% skill damage. We're not really doing it for the skill repair because we're not repairing ourselves. So we're gaining an extra skill damage while we are in combat. So this is just a free 15% skill damage in combination with our memento, gaining an extra 30, boosts us up to 45, gaining an extra 65 from our capacitance, boosting up to that extra 110% skill damage. Then jumping over to my Brazos pieces, and why are we going for Brazos? Because the secondary brand set bonus gives us an extra skill tier. So the first will give us skill haste, gives us our skills back a little bit faster, but we're doing it for that extra skill tier so we can lose another skill core for some weapon damage. This is the Picaro's holster, so we're gaining 2 core tiers from this, a skill tier and a weapon damage tier, and that's why we're using this Brazos, very very powerful, and we went for critical hit damage as the attribute. And then for our last piece, to activate that extra skill tier from the Brazos brand set, these are our knee pads. Critical hit chance, critical damage, again, found them like this, so I optimized it so I could roll that skill core away for some weapon damage. This is pretty much the overview of all the normal pieces, and then let's go over to my backpack, and that is the exotic backpack, the Memento. This is such a strong backpack, and it is such a good exotic within the game. This gives us 3 core attributes: weapon damage, armor, and skill tier. We went for critical hit damage, and this gives us the talent kill confirmed. Enemies you kill drop a trophy on death. Collecting trophies provides both a short and a long-term buff, the first of which scales with the numbers of core attributes equipped and lasts 10 seconds. So because we're running around with the official 4 core weapon damage, we're gaining 20% weapon damage every time that we pick up a trophy for 10 seconds. Because we're running around with 1 core from our memento in the blues, we're gaining an extra 10% bonus armor whenever we pick up a trophy. And because we're running around with 6 core yellows, we're gaining an extra 30% skill efficiency every time that we pick up a trophy. And don't forget, the skill efficiency is everything that you can find in the skill attributes. Then for the second part, and this makes this memento so godlike and such a great synergy on this build, because this gives us survivability, damage output with our gun, and damage output with our skills. For every trophy collected, gain an additional 1% weapon damage, 1% skill efficiency, and 0.1% armor generation for 300 seconds or 5 minutes, and the max stack is 30. You can collect those 30 trophies pretty damn fast, and then you're gaining an extra 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, and 3% armor regeneration, giving you a lot more damage output with your gun and your skills, and giving you some survivability with that 3% armor regeneration. And this is the whole overview of the build. And of course, we're going to our skills, because those are very important on this build as well. And we're using the turret and we're using the striker drone. These are just the best skills that you can use on this build or on any crit skill build. For our turret, we're using 5% damage, 7.5% duration, 7.5% skill haste on the mods. And as you can see, this is on skill tier 6. Cooldown of 17.9 seconds, duration of 251.6 seconds, 6.6 million health, and 107.5k damage in PvE. But don't forget, this is without the boost of the capacitance, and without the boost of our kinetic momentum, and without the boost of our memento backpack. So this gives us so much more damage, and I'm gonna jump over to the stats in a little bit, and I'm gonna show you the base stats, and then jumping over to the memento stats, because that will boost up our survivability and damage a lot more, and even we can go higher. So these are the stats from our turret, and this is the striker drone. 19.2 seconds cooldown, 3.3 million health, 251.6 seconds of duration, and 67k damage for PvE. Again, skill tier 6 as you can see, and we went for duration, health, and damage as the maxed out mods on this skill. So let's jump over to the stats real quick. We have 137k weapon damage. We have 50% critical hit chance, 111% critical hit damage, 75% headshot damage, 12% damage to armor, 10% damage to health, and no damage to target out of cover, or at least not on our capacitor. Of course, if we switch over to our harmony, we are gaining an extra damage to target out of cover as well. Then if we jump over to our armor, we see that we are a little bit underneath that 1 million armor, and for now we don't have armor regeneration. Same as for our skills, as you can see, we are on 40% skill haste. The cooldowns, the duration, the health, the damage I already showed you. Same as for the turret, 40% skill haste. Cooldown, health, duration, damage, and PvP damage I already showed you. So let's jump over to the memento stacks, and you can see how much the damage gets boosted. And starting with the defensive, as you can see, we went up from 0 armor regeneration to 27k and a little bit of armor regeneration. So this definitely gives you a little bit of survivability without always having to use your medkits. And then if we jump over to our first skill, our turret skill, you can see we're gaining an extra 60% skill haste. You see that our cooldown went down, you see that our health went up, you see that our duration went up, and you see that our damage went up as well. And that's exactly the same for our drone, went up from 40 to 100% skill haste. Our cooldown went down, our damages went up, our health went up, our duration went up, and again, don't forget, this is only with our memento procced. Still, we can gain an extra 80% skill damage in combination with our chest piece and the gun that we are using. So we can even hit harder with his skills than you see on these stats. So there is a boost and another boost and another boost. This is such a great synergy and does so incredibly much for you on this crit skill build. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. Again, a huge shout out to Palm for telling me about this, and a huge shout out to you, Rice, hopefully I pronounce it right, to making this build, because this is a definite monster and will definitely replace my old crit skill build. So let me know in the comments down below what you like about this build, what would you change around this build, and did you try it out already? Please do come back to the comments and let me know what you think. But that's pretty much it for me. Thank you very much if you're still here, sticking until the end. You are a freaking legend. Make sure to hit that like button if this video helped you out in any way or form. And of course, if you liked this video and if you want to be updated about the Division 2 and the Division universe, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. You won't regret it. I will have a lot more videos coming. But that's it for me today. I will see you in the next one. PurePrime out.